Hi, I'm Christian Plesey with Book News Weekly. Today, my topic of discussion is going to be The Book Thief. Now, this book is really great, and I highly recommend it for young adults and, even just you adults out there too watching this. And I mean, the length of the book does seem a little long, and I mean, I know it may scare a lot of people away, but really, I would still recommend you at least read the first few pages, get a feel of the book. It does start a little slow, I will admit, but even though it does do that, I still would highly recommend reading it, just because of all the nature and the symbolism. And you might even want to grab a box of tissue while you're at it, because this book does get pretty sad. Now, today we're going to just talk about, a little bit of the symbolism, a little summary, just to get you going so you can know what's going on with this book. Now, the main character of the book is Liesl. She's hardworking, as the title states, book thieving. She's kind-hearted, and she is, of course, the star of the novel. She loves books so much that she does, of course, steal them, even before she does know how to read. And like many of us, she doesn't have an easy time reading, at least not at first. Now, without her foster father, Hans, who is, of course, a little bit more key in the novel, like I said, he's the foster father of Liesl, so he does teach her majority of the stuff that she learns throughout the novel. And if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be able to read at all. And her lack of education is at first mistaken for a lack of intelligence in the novel because, of course, she's a little girl. Who knows what little girls can do? She can't read. She's never gone to school because of the setting of the novel, it being during the Holocaust. Now, it's kind of like, well, how can you make this person key in the novel? But she does, of course, exhibit a lot of growth throughout many certain things in the novel. And I really do recommend that for reading this novel, you do remember, of course, that this does take place during the Holocaust. Now, one of the books that I do want to go over that Liesl first got into was The Gravedigger's Handbook. And it is just like it sounds. It's a handbook for digging graves. Now, it's the first book that she does steal and the one that she first reads. This one is bittersweet, just like a lot of the books that she does read throughout the novel. And she steals the book from the snowy graveyard where her little brother Warner has just been buried, which happens more towards the beginning of the novel, of course. And it's her only memento of her brother, and also her mother, whom she doesn't see ever again after the same day in January of 1939, which is, of course, a time during the Holocaust. So the book represents a great loss, great sorrow, and feelings of, loneliness or of, I guess, abandonment, because it represents the end of one phase of her life, and then it could possibly be the start, and it is, the beginning of another. Now, it also has some very positive associations for Liesl, and it marks I guess, transformation for her from her not being able to read to her actually being able to read. I guess it all represents the beginning of Liesl's relationship with Hans, because, of course, this is the first book that she does end up being able to read. And she does have nightmares about her dying brother a lot, and that's when the Gravedigger's Handbook has the additional embarrassment of, I don't know, it's kind of confusing. She wets the bed because of these nightmares, and it's because of the Gravedigger's Handbook that she is able to, start learning all of this, and it gets her a little more comfortable, even though it does represent the sadness and the loss. But it also is like I said, the building of the relationship with Hans, and then her being able to read for many of the other books that continue on with this. Now, I could go ahead and talk about all the other books that she reads, but that'd be a long list, and I mean, we don't have all that time. So, I'm going to talk about the main narrator of the story, Death. Now, Death tries to find ways to give meaning to his work, just like any other person does. And I know he's obviously, you can't be very happy, it's kind of somber to be Death. So, one of the things he does is collect the stories of the courageous humans that he goes over and he has to, when he does his job. So, Liesl is interesting to him because of her courage and her personality. Stories like hers keep him going, and he likes to, retell the stories, and he even says it himself, to prove to myself that you and your human existence are worth it. And that basically means he looks for, hope in the gathering of the stories, and he likes retelling them, and obviously, like I said earlier, being able to portray all the stories through him and tell us what he sees, which is like a quest for his own meaning for the thing that he really wants in life himself. Because this death, unlike many other deaths that you may know of, is actually more apathetic than he is somber and mean and evil, like muhaha, I'm gonna kill you, all that kind of stuff. So, two of the big things in the book as well that I noticed, at least, one of them was love. And I mean, it focuses on the characters who are learning to love in the face of great hatred, which is obviously the Nazi Party, all the things that were going on with the Holocaust. I mean, there's a lot of like love going on in the novel, not only with Liesel and then her family, but also with all the people that come in through the novel, especially the guy Max, who they end up taking in. I mean, that's another thing too with the story, that they end up taking him in because they are taking him because he's Jewish and his father is owed a favor by Hans. But since it's set in Nazi Germany, like I said earlier, there's going to be a lot of things that happen throughout the novel that are going to be like maybe even just little tiny small things, but because of the like time that's going on in the story, every little tiny thing is an act of immense kindness. And they always involve penalty usually, because just like back in the day when it really did happen, if you were caught finding out and they found out that you were doing things for the Jews, then you were going to get punished as well as the Jewish themselves. And the thing throughout this whole novel, though, that I think is really most meaningful too, is that Death, of all the characters, shows the most love, as he really does take into account all these people's lives, and he really does just take it into his heart, and he really loves all these people that he helps, and all the stories that he's telling of their courageous beings. Now, one other thing that really is really represented in the novel is colors. And Death is very fascinated with the colors, and it's obviously like the imagery, the colors of the sky. It helps cast the moods of all his stories, and it creates a lot of like theme in the area, like a atmosphere around this whole thing. So by focusing on the sky colors at the time of human deaths, he suggests that there's like a connection between a person's death and the natural world. And the idea that each person dies with their own color of sky presents a vision of a universe which cares about humans and isn't indifferent towards them. And for Death, the colors are also edible, so he sucks on them for distraction when he's on the job. And it just allows him, it goes back to the whole love and color thing. And that's why throughout this whole novel, Death, of course he is our narrator, so he's going to be key, but he is just the one that, out of all these people, and all the people that you meet throughout the novel, and all the characters, he's the big guy. And I mean, it's just great how they used him in such a way that, instead of being, like I said earlier, the mean old guy who comes to kill you, he's really apathetic, nice, he's just really a great character. And I think he's represented very well in this story, as it's not like a main, I don't know a word, like a common thing for Death to be doing. But I just really do recommend this book for plenty of you out there, and I thought it was a great read. And like I said, it does take a little extra time because it is a little longer than most books you'll read, but who knows? You can pick up this book, and I found it hard to put it down. But we're running out of time here, so I just want to say thank you to everyone viewing this, and this is a great read. So again, from Book News Weekly, I'm Christian Plessy. Thank you for watching.